If you're not aware of who JustPearlyThings is, she's basically described as the female Andrew Tate. She's a red pill female, which is very rare nowadays, and there have been a few clones popping up of her who have been trying to, mimic and parrot these red pill talking points. But Pearly Things has definitely been the pioneer of all these things. She blew up on TikTok from a bunch of her claims of, calling women whales, and few of the things that she said I did agree with, but she has taken a drastic turn left for quite some time now, and she recently appeared on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, so we're about to check it out. Before we do that, please be sure to leave a like on the video, comment down below if you have any recommendations, or if you'd like to have any conversations about some of the topics brought up in this, and of course hit that subscribe button to help me hit my goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. Let's get right into the reaction.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers.
Pearl
Davis.
Davis.
Newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So is she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the
a bit of both. A bit of both.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has...
So like the statistics she's citing, it all makes sense. It all is true, the statistics she's citing, but they also are hand-picked statistics to further her point. She's not going to get into the nuances of any of these conversations. She just recites these to sort of get people to either agree with her or to get upset with her.
With over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days.
You're one of those women.
I understand the complaint.
Okay, well, Pearl joined.
All right, Pearl. I mean, as y'all saw, she looked at this woman right here. Look at her face. She just reeks of blue pill annoying. But look at Pearl, right? Look at Pearl. Look at her in this clip. A solid 5 out of 10. She looks all right. Pearl can sometimes look busted. All right, this is a solid 2. She shouldn't be giving dating advice on anything. But also, that woman that she's sitting next to is really annoying as well.
Right, Pearl, you would be called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Not a bad thing.
Well, I take it as a compliment. I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Trafficking little boys.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about. But overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue
but
a lot of your...
I would say that is a true statement. Modern feminism is deeply, deeply flawed. I don't even think modern feminists actually understand what it was that the feminist movement was really pushing for and like the reasons behind why it awoke. A lot of the current modern feminisms would be either laughed at or ridiculed by the first wave of feminism. So I do think that they've skewed themselves off their own path, unfortunately.
Proposals like taking the vote away from women are deeply regressive.
Yeah, she's
why would you want to remove just from yourself the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, like, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. You look it up.
At the time?
At the time.
Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women...
See, that's what kind of annoys me is when she says that, like, I started reading their writings. No, she didn't. She read one article or maybe 2 or 3 articles that might have had a quote from, let's say, one of the women during the time period, but then ignores all of the academic journals and the publications and everything else of all the women, the feminist women, who were fighting so hard to get the vote. Like, it's ridiculous, man.
They believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. Before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
What's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run.
Okay.
So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then
That's just not true. Men do not run all of the... I mean, one of the biggest things holding society up is our healthcare industry, and that's vastly dominated by women. So just incorrect statement.
50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S.,
they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is essentially the draft.
Okay, but specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have two votes.
Ava, your mouth seems to have dropped about.
No, do you know what it's
like? I know.
It's just sort of a bit galaxy brain. I feel like, the stats that you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stats?
But they just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the to the women's writings.
Yeah, this is. I'm glad that she's bringing this up, because with Pearl, you do have to challenge her a bit. You got to give her a little bit of pushback, or else she'll just continue to spew like 50 million statistics to make herself sound like she knows what she's talking about.
Read. I mean,
allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
At the time that you're talking about, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were.
Write.
Yes, they were. That's incorrect. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work and couldn't.
Okay, see, this is what I mean. Like when she just throws these things out, what did that have to do with the statement that was laid in front of you? The statement that was laid in front of you is that during the times that you're referencing of these things that you read about women weren't allowed to publish, things that were heavy feminist or heavy anti-establishment type pieces. And that's true. Of course there is, and she even believes it. Pearl believes this. There is an agenda that's being pushed where women aren't allowed to, or women weren't allowed to at the time, push out certain narratives. Now, of course, as they started to rally in the streets and congregate and assemble in mass amounts, they started to push these things in the face of people without them being able to block it. But there was a period of time where women weren't allowed to write what they like to write. It's the same thing for African Americans. It's the same thing for almost any population of people, even just poor men, poor white men, poor black, whatever. You remove race from it. If you weren't the elite of the elite, you just weren't allowed to post shit at certain times. And saying like, the first woman property owner was in the 1600s, that's 0.0001% of the female population. And she probably, I'm almost guaranteeing that woman was handed that property down. It wasn't like she busted her ass working some hard, crazy job and then got that property by legitimate means. It was probably just passed off from her family members. So to try to act like while at the same time, men are meant to be these dominating forces as they were back in the days and women should just be in the house, that women at that same time were powerful and could do all these things. Like you can't hold both points of view. It's just disingenuous.
The
first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made.
Yes, it was.
Self-made. Yes, it
and
was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not inherit it.
What law permitted that?
What?
What law permitted that?
Well, there was no law. I mean, there's always been women that were influential in history.
Let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand is, a part of your message. I've researched you today. And hang on a minute.
Okay.
Your big push is that you.
No, and this is another thing that Pearl does frequently, even though she tries to encourage women to be more feminine and like she interrupts, and then when you watch, I guarantee you at some point in this interview, you're gonna hear Pearl say, "Can I finish? Can you let me speak?" Even though she's trying to interrupt 50 times, which is a masculine trait. Everything Pearl does is masculine, and yet she tries to enforce to women that they should be more feminine.
You don't think that men are getting enough of a say, but
hang
on, I haven't made the point yet. Okay. Because of feminism, okay? What I wonder is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote, how is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives, they have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers, and they turn around, they don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
I don't know about the whole misogynistic thing. Yeah, I don't know about the whole misogynistic thing. She kind of, I really wish Piers was really like spearheading this and allowing, a dual-sided argument. He's kind of just watching and enjoying though.
So again, men do all of that. Well, then, okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open, they're hiring, because I don't I don't think men or women are equal until we.
That's it. See, all right, great point, right? You're saying, I think women should do this. You're not doing it. First, Pearl, hold on. Come here. Full screen. Thank you. Pearl, you are a millionaire, right? You're a self-made woman millionaire. You are the forefront face of your company that you run. So by your own definitions of like these delusional women of the new generation, you fit right in. You're a boss queen, babe. You run your own organization. And meanwhile, while you're spouting all this stuff, you're 26. You're not a virgin. You're busted. Like you're like a 4 or 5 out of 10 if you don't have like really nice clothes and expensive jewelry and stuff on. Even with that stuff, at most you're a 6. All of these things, none of it really aligns with the message that you're trying to purport. It's kind of like a basement-dwelling nerd, right? Eating Cheeto dust all over his fingers and stuff. He finishes licking off all the Cheetos off of his fingers, then he gets online and makes millions off of saying, like, men should be the rulers of their household. It just doesn't work. But for some reason, as a woman, it works because then you have these broken, stupid men like, yeah, what Pearl says, when they don't realize that why isn't... And maybe she hides it. I doubt it. Trust me, I'm pretty sure she's single. But why doesn't she have a top value male with her? Why isn't there a high value male who's locked up with Pearl? Why do we know her for pretty much talking to a bum who was homeless at one point? Why is that her last body? Why is she not a virgin? Why is she not married? All of the no one really asks these hard pressing questions, and she just gets away with all of this idiocy. It's ridiculous.
Do the equal work. So no, listen. Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber. Go be an electrician. Go be on the front lines of the military. And then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that,
okay,
I don't believe.
Are those the only people that should be getting jobs? It just should be the hardest labored jobs, and military personnel should be the only people that should be able to vote. Sorry. Should those be the only people that are allowed to vote?
The freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, well, I don't think
even men that don't do that.
But I'm absolutely not. You said you were
wow,
a volleyball.
Wow.
You said you were a volleyball
Damn,
player.
she said you built like a nigga.
I don't have more strength than the average man.
Take your right away to
I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
But you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes,
that I would agree with her with.
What we have today is really marriage.
To some extent.
What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That's what marriage is supposed to be.
On both parts, not just the woman.
Have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate and the average marriage
Why is that all down to the
It's not a 50% divorce rate. That's a number that's been inflated. At one point, people were saying 75% of marriages end in divorce. Like it just wasn't inflated. Statistically, I'm pretty sure it's like, I want to say a third, around like 25 to 30%, maybe like as high as 33% of marriages end in divorce.
Down to the women.
Why feminism?
You asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish first? So
what did I say? What did I say? Can I finish? But you can cut everybody off. Oh my God.
The people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
Doesn't the
that's fair.
Marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin, so you wouldn't be able to get married?
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair.
Yo, Piers is like, hey, leave me out of this one. Hold on, I need to see that face.
I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually.
That face, bro. He's like, hey, let the cats fight. I'm out of this one. I'm out of this one, bro.
That's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But, we can't go back. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, but I just don't think it's fair that you get to be here and you get to be paid for your views, and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think...
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in.
Thank you, Piers.
Women are entitled to have their own views.
Absolutely.
So she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't...
You might not like them.
But I'm here to challenge
Isn't she exercising her right as a... Are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality, but you guys don't.
When she says like the whole feminist argument, like, oh, I'm not, she's not a feminist. It's just not true. You embody all of the qualities of what a feminist has been fighting for the past 50 plus years. You're a woman, obviously. You're the leader of your own business. You make more money than any male counterpart that would be willing to date you makes. You are a domineering woman, meaning that you have a dominant personality. You talk over people. You run your own show. You're the boss of the company. All those things. And you're approaching your late 20s. I'm pretty sure she's 26, about to be 27. She isn't married. She's had sex before, so she's not a virgin. So all these things that she's trying to say, like, oh, I'm not a virgin, yet you embody every single feminist. She's not a feminist. She embodies every single quality of a woman that a feminist has been fighting for to be even able, and then yet she's still here, like, preaching this message of, don't be like me, don't be, and she's not even saying it like don't be like me. She's saying don't be a feminist, don't be this. These qualities destroyed civilization while reaping the benefits of all of those qualities. It's just complete hypocrisy. Someone like Tate, I get a lot of shit for agreeing with him a lot. At least he is actually a multi-millionaire and 100+ millionaire. At least he actually is physically domineering. At least he actually practices what he preaches to a majority extent. A majority of the things that comes out of that man's mouth, he's either done or seen or witnessed or took part in. What she's saying of being this like cutesy, quiet woman who, allows a man to dominate and allows a man to like control everything. She does none of that. She's a single, late 20s, non-virgin who runs her own business and is a multimillionaire, I would assume. And yet she's trying to put on this message of, you should allow a man to lead and everything, which I agree with. You should allow your man to lead. You should have as few bodies as possible. Coming out of your 20s, you should be aiming to get married. You should be family oriented as a woman. Like all these things I agree with. And yet here she is, a single, lonely, solid 5 out of 10, preaching to the choir. Nah, I'm not buying it, shorty.
There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering
I would actually love to see Ava Santana on an oil rig.
Seriously. There is a building being built next to my building. Go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm
doing the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, like women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy.
That didn't make any sense though. I think it's a choice. That's exactly what feminists are saying. You have the choice to choose marriage rather than being married off by your father like we did in past times. That is the point of feminists. You're saying the thing feminists would say and trying to act different.
This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society.
But when she's talking about like the traditional values of marriage, these come from religion. You cannot have a child outside of wedlock. Therefore, marriage just by definition, must be based off of happiness, because it can't be all about the children if there are no children involved when the process begins. When you get married religiously, you're not supposed to have kids yet. You're not even supposed to have sex outside of wedlock. You're not supposed to have kids outside of wedlock. Therefore, you shouldn't even be thinking about kids until after you get married, after you've already cemented this with someone who you are truly happy with and can trust and have the sanctity that you would like to have within the relationship to then get it sanctified by the church. All of that comes before children. So it is about happiness. If you're not happy with that person, you probably shouldn't get married to that person. And that's the mistake that a lot of women make, is that they have a marriage with someone who they weren't truly happy with to begin with, which is what leads to divorce. But don't say it's not about happiness. That's exactly what it's about. It's always been about happiness.
Where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
Ava, I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate where some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children during divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand...
I'd like to
what
say,
I don't
even
understand...
before
Here comes the cutting off.
You know what I mean?
Women could speak...
Here comes the cutting off. Here comes the cutting off. Let her talk.
Openly. This idea that like women couldn't talk the last 500 years. There have been women throughout history.
The American state education system has failed before, and it's failing now.
There have been women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know what I don't understand though is when it gets spiked.
All right, are we gonna see? That's disingenuous. That's disingenuous as hell. This idea that women couldn't. We know that it just is true. Of course, there were intelligent women and stuff, but when it came to reaching that peak and being able to actually have control or actually influence the masses, you were halted immediately. So don't bring that.
Okay, because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs.
The question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate morbid obesity as some kind of body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth.
True.
This is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive? It's nonsense.
We're not talking about morbid obesity. I was actually watching your podcast earlier, and you spoke to someone who was, I would say, probably a size 12, and you called her fat, obese, and a divorcee.
She was fat, obese, and a divorcee. I mean, I don't know what to say. This is the thing, women, we don't want to live in reality. We don't want to say things that are true. Was she fat? Yes. Was she a divorcee? Yes. These things are just objective facts.
Okay, I'm going to have to objectively...
And she insulted me first. They always do.
I'm going to have to objectively end the debate, but it was an interesting conversation.
It was. I really wish that Piers had more say over it, because the girl that was interviewing with Pearl just wasn't able to provide the pushback. And also I don't think she did enough research on Pearl to know about her. I've watched a decent amount of Pearl's content, full form and short form, to understand what she's trying to do and understand her message. Of course, there's a lot that I agree with, but then also she's just a fucking hypocrite. At the end of the day, she's a huge hypocrite. None of her viewpoints actually align with the life that she's living, and that's really what kind of upsets me. At least people like Andrew Tate and like Sneeko and those people of the world are trying to live what they preach. If she was trying to live what she preached, she would shut up and go, join the coal mines, because at the end of the day, she obviously believes in equality for women and men. If that wouldn't be the case, she would give up her position to a man, because she shouldn't be in that position. She's 26, about to turn 27. She should be worried about kids and getting married. She shouldn't be worried about running a podcast on YouTube. But you know what it is. Hypocrisy all around in the red pill sphere, but equally, if not even more, hypocrisy in the blue pill sphere. That's why I try to stay out of both. And if anything, I align more with the red pillars. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you have anything to talk about from this video, please be sure to leave it in the comments of the video. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And of course, hit that subscribe button to join Dreamers Entertainment. Until next time, and until the next video, Dreamers.